everyone, and welcome back to CoinDesk Live. We are recording a very special episode of Markets Daily right now, live from the Avalanche Summit, the premier Avalanche community event of 2024. On this show, we navigate the currents shaping the crypto markets. So, whether you're actively trading or just curious about the volatility that is the crypto markets, this show is your compass navigating what's happened, where we are, and where we are going. I'm Jen Sanasi. My co host Zach Seward is with me today, and joining us on the show is Dragonfly General Partner Rob Hadick.
Good
Rob,
to be
good
here.
morning.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a great morning.
It's not sunny today,
Yeah,
but cloudy Buenos Aires.
that's true. But it was sunny yesterday.
It was sunny yesterday. It's still a vibe.
Yeah.
People are trickling in. We're here to talk about the markets. Let's start broad and we'll bring it back to LATAM. What are you watching in the markets this morning?
I think right now, like broadly up into the election, we're just going to see a lot of volatility. So I think people have to be prepared for that. We've like the 1 month fall on Bitcoin is about 60%. That's increased a lot over the last couple of weeks. If you look at funding rates, they've kind of blown out and over 10% now in a way that they weren't before, which means that the market is really, expecting there to be a lot of growth and, kind of positive price reactions over the next couple of weeks. My expectation is that it could be getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, and people should be a little bit more cautious, especially if they're thinking about using leverage.
Okay, so do you see the election as a big clearing event for the crypto markets? Do you think there's going to be a lot of activity around that
Yeah.
once some certainty emerges, or do you think it's going to be largely a non-event?
I think it's largely a non-event. So what's funny is you always see every year in every election, you see a lot of volatility up into the election. You hear a lot of people like pontificating about, okay, well, hey, like this is good for their, risk asset, equities, crypto, whatever. This is bad, et cetera. And like famously, actually, Sam Bankman-Fried talked about this in his book, where Jane Street was very positioned one way for a Trump presidency, and the markets had the exact opposite reaction. And what you realize is that like most of these things are actually priced in, and people look at probabilities, and that's the way that they end up positioning themselves. And the reality is like we have a lot of catalysts for crypto today that are positive, and that's whether or not whoever wins, right? So Kamala's in, her administration has said if they were to win that they would be much more positive for crypto. Obviously, the Trump and potential administration has talked about that significantly. But even so, like, Bill Haggerty had a stablecoin bill last week, right? Like it's clear that the current Congress and the people who will be in, whether it's Kamala or Trump, want there to be better legislation and more clarity around crypto, and I think that's a good thing, and people are positioning for that now. So I wouldn't expect there to be a lot of movement one way or the other, in the, call it, medium term after the election. The day of, who knows?
Elections aside, what other catalysts are you looking at?
So, it's really interesting is we're here at the Avalanche Summit, right? And one of the biggest stories of the last week has been Gunzilla Games, right? And so, 3.5 million users in 2 days, right? So that's more, that's basically we had at the top about 30,000 people trading NFTs in 2021. So you can just see the delta, how many people we brought into using, a blockchain, Avalanche, for trading digital goods, because we were able to bring them into this kind of Web2 game. So things like that are what I'm focused on. Polymarket's been really interesting this year, a big success in terms of bringing, non-crypto people into using a crypto product. Gunzilla Games, obviously, I just mentioned. And so I'm looking for individual type things like that, where we can have, endogenous events that aren't just, hey, macro related, which frankly, recently, crypto's been a lot of macro.
Mm. So, I mean, tell me if I'm right in taking this out of what you just said. Do you think games is going to be a big narrative in 2025?
I think for games, there will be a few big narratives, and I think Godzilla is one of them. I think it is hard to extrapolate that to a lot of other things.
Okay.
What I would say is, I think crypto broadly is a lot around financialization, right? And so, different projects that do a good job of providing interesting ways that people can participate in economies and that can financialize or have, maybe different types of derivatives on top of what is things that they like to do every day. So Polymarket's actually an example of this, right? Because people are getting into their group chats and they're saying, what is going on in this presidential election, or what is happening in, any sort of event. And then they're saying, I want to, take a position on, whether it is that I want this person to win or the sporting event, or even actually they have these things called mention markets that are doing really well, where people are actually taking a position on what will people say during these different types of, televised events. And that's really interesting because it's actually becoming more social, but with financialization on top.
Rob, Dragonfly obviously deployed across a bunch of different networks. When you guys look at the health of these networks, be it at the L1 level or be it even at the DApp level, what are the metrics that you're really looking at right now?
Yeah, so I think it really depends on the exact type of application that we're super interested in. So, in many ways, things people talk about like TVL, or they talk about transactions, they talk about wallets, and all of those things matter, but they matter for different reasons for different types of applications. I think the number one North Star for me when I'm looking at, say, like an L1 is what is the developer mindshare? Who actually wants to build there? Do the really smart people coming out of Stanford and MIT, is that a place where they're saying, okay, this is a place where I think that has a good ecosystem, has good infrastructure, and I can tap into a community that I want to be interacting with? I think Avalanche has done a really good job of that, and you can see it in how excited everybody is here to be here these past couple of days. And then we really see, with that, ETH mainnet, Base, Solana, that's kind of the group that we really see that people are really excited about right now.
How are you quantifying sort of mind share? Do you have a way to do that, or is it more qualitative in terms of who you're talking with?
So it's quantitative in so much as, a lot of people go out and talk to these developers, and they, they do surveys, and they, get that feedback on like, what are you thinking about, or where are you thinking about building? And so, Andreessen had their State of Crypto report that came out, I think it was yesterday or the day before, and they went out and talked to thousands and thousands of developers, and they said, okay, well, what are you thinking about, or who are you thinking about building on? And still today, Ethereum is number one, even though I think, people have not been super happy about price action there. But Ethereum is still number one. And then the biggest growth we've seen has been in Solana and in Base in the last year, with Avalanche being right there as well. And I think those are the things that you try to refresh yourself regularly. It's hard to do that on a call it, a week-to-week basis, and if you're trading. But if you're thinking about the long-term health of these different communities, it's a really good way to think about that.
Hey everyone, did you know 52 million Americans own cryptocurrencies? That's not just a number, it's a movement, economic, social, and political. Decentralized finance, blockchain, and digital currencies are more than buzzwords, they are the future. This November, it's on us to show up and step up. We need to protect crypto to ensure it continues to fuel innovation and freedom for our families and businesses. Don't let this opportunity slip by. The future of crypto is on the line. Make your voice heard this November and pledge to vote now at standwithcrypto.org/pledge. I want to turn now to something you tweeted recently that I want to unpack.
Oh,
No,
geez,
don't
the
worry.
No, this is good.
Don't worry. I'm
Uh-oh.
not putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
It's not a surprising tweet. Yeah, you tweeted that crypto is in crypto we just keep learning the same lessons that were learned in TradFi, but years later. I think that's really interesting, and I want to unpack that a little bit. Like, what does that tell you about where we are right now, and where we're going?
Yeah, I think one of the things that has been really interesting about crypto is, in many ways, it was started as a new financial system, right? And that's what people want. That's what people see Ethereum as being, is we can get rid of the intermediaries and we can reinvent that. But it's often come from a tech-first perspective, not from a financial perspective. And so some of the things around leverage or around types of products that work or don't work. And I think I was tweeting specifically there about basically like crowdfunding platforms, which I am actually very bearish on, but everyone is, there's high FDV, low float meme. There's like, oh, we need to do crowdfunding because that's, more egalitarian or whatever. Those things do not work, and they haven't worked for decades in regular finance. And I don't think they're going to work in crypto. And I think the 2017 ICO boom also tells us that they will not work. But sometimes people just need to learn it for themselves. That said, where are we going? Is I think we're going to a world in which we can make at least parts of the financial system better. We can have more ownership around and more community building, and we can be closer to our different users, and we can get rid of a lot of the inefficiencies that exist in traditional finance.
So you're not on the bring back ICOs bandwagon.
No,
That
so
we're
silly.
hearing that drumbeat a little bit more lately. Bring back ICOs. You're definitely not in that camp.
People forget that ICO, like in 2017, was a disaster. Like, most of it was just like it wasn't just like, oh, like these are not good builders building bad products. It was like direct fraud, and it was, in my mind, like,
Don't forget that.
I think people forget it. We were talking about it on a panel yesterday, and people were like ICOs, and I'm like, what do you mean?
Fair launch.
It's
You're
terrible.
speaking like a true VC right now, man.
Yeah,
And
well,
Zach's
that's
really
true.
drumming the beat.
Oh, it's not me. The people are out here.
The drum.
You know, I think the people they want good things to invest in. They want stories to invest in. They want to be closer to the things they are investing in, and they want to be able to make money, right? And like at the end of the day, like if you can help these people make money, they will be more committed to your community in the future. And so there's been some like bad price action on quote unquote VC coins, but that is more around how we think about token economic structure than we think about how things get launched or funded pre TGE. And that's a place where I think there is a lot of interesting things that we can do. Things like having not hard capped FDV or the amount of tokens that can be issued in the future, and instead doing something that we might have learned in traditional finance, which is that if you need to dilute something, you just go back to governance and you add more tokens or you add more equity in the traditional world. And so there's ways to, I think, iterate around this that aren't selling whatever to whoever and with no diligence whatsoever.
And to coin anyway.
Okay.
All right, we got to wrap up in just a second, but I want to bring it back to LATAM because that's where we're sitting right now. What trends, if any, are you watching in the region?
Yeah, LATAM's really interesting because so the first thing I did when I landed here, 3 hours later, I went with somebody to a cueva. And these cuevas, essentially, you are kind of gray market brokers of USDT for maybe paper dollars or pesos here. And one of the things you've seen, and you talked about the Chainalysis report on the opening, is that just the hunger for dollars and the demand for dollars in places like this is really high. And stablecoins allow that to happen in a way that just couldn't happen in the traditional banking system. And so what we're really excited about is figuring out ways to invent and bring different types of financial products to people in places like Argentina that just they couldn't have had access to before, because the world is globalizing and borders are breaking down, and crypto are going to be the rails of that in my mind.
We got to go, but I really want to hear about this experience at it's an Ecueva?
Yeah, that's right. I think I'm saying it right. Somebody in Argentina might.
The blue notes, right? You got the.
Well, there's the blue notes, but you get different rates for different types of notes.
Gotcha.
But it looks like basically it's not a storefront because they're still gray market. They're technically illegal. But you go into an office park, you go up to the second floor, you walk in, and it looks like a traditional office. And they sit you down and they show you a Tron address, and you either send or receive, and you give them cash. And frankly, it's like not that different than going to the dentist. Is what it feels like.
All right. Well, on that note, Rob, we are going to have to wrap it up there. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, thank you.
That was Dragonfly General Partner Rob Hadick. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back,